This whole area was all combed by the officials back in 1966, looking for that engine and all the parts. The other side of those woods where the engine landed, where they scoured to pick up all the parts.
My name is Betty Stoner. I was 16 years old when the crash happened, and Bobby Coates had been in a lot of my classes. In fact, I sat in the class, seat ahead of him for art class, and we were doing self-portraits, so we would take turns helping each other. So he was always a very helpful, polite young man, and all the girls in the school thought he was a sex symbol for those days.
Now, you were in your home when that plane...
I was at my grandparents' house.
Okay, and how did you find... You heard about it? Heard the noise, or how did you find out about it?
We heard a sound and we heard a thump kind of thing, but didn't pay much attention. But my grandmother, we had a party line back in those days, who was the one that kind of got us knowing about it because people were calling each other to say what had happened. And the word came around that they had no idea how many men were on board the plane. They thought there could be 16. I don't know where that number came from. But,
yeah, I guess it turns out just a pilot, co-pilot, and an engineer, a civilian engineer was on.
Yeah.
That's all.
Just three of them.
And he did live, that engineer. I think he bailed out with a parachute. I think with that stuff you sent me, it said that the co-pilot dove out, but he wouldn't have the altitude.
Right.
And he died. And the pilot never got out of the seat. He was, in the basement. But they took me over from the fire department today to show me the exact spot because I thought I was correct. And he said, no, you're off a little bit there. The reason I got that impression where I filmed it was from the Channel 16. They had it wrong, according to him.
Yeah.
So I asked Bobby, but she was young at the time. She said, yeah, I think you got it right there, but apparently it wasn't. Yeah. But anyway, is there anything else that you remember about it? That
I remember the phones were ringing and people were calling each other about it. And someone, I don't know whether it's someone from the fire company or what, had asked for people to go out and search some pastures and woods to see
if those other people.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was a cold, cold January day, and my sister and I had been watching television back in the day when the Gladiator movies were the most fun. So we got all dressed up in our snowsuits and went up with my grandfather, and we fanned out to look around to see if there was anything there. But fortunately, there was not.
Right. Yeah.
But it was scary.
Yeah, a lot of smoke too. I mean, you could see it from there.
I didn't notice the smoke, which is weird. I should have, but
yeah.
From what I understand, the pilot tried really hard to get it into the lake.
Yeah, he did. And I guess after it hit the cottage, they showed me which way it came in on the, from the fire department. I guess it bounced out into the ice. Yeah. But it was too late. I already hit the cottage, and unfortunately, young Bob was killed. I guess he died later that night, taken to the hospital alive, but he didn't make it. And
the news report, it was a weird thing that the news report said, the first one said that a young man had died because of a crash that had gone on.
Yeah.
And 11 o'clock news we were watching, and they said they'd gotten it wrong. The young man had not died. And what they meant, they said they were clarifying, he had not died at the scene, but had died almost immediately at the hospital.
Yeah, at the hospital. Yeah, I think he's buried up in Clark Summit in that mausoleum.
Yeah,
that's what she had told me. Yeah. And they did send me pictures of him. They had some, but not a whole lot. And I think one of them sent me pictures of the house before it was hit. And now I know exactly where it was at, so I did some more filming today over there. But, well, anything else before I leave that you remember about it?
Let's see.
I know I saw you on TV on Channel 16, not live, but I have that on my website. And you said when you're in a plane crash, you get killed, you figure you'd be on the plane, not on the ground.
Yeah.
That is so true. Yes. I
But-
bet you nobody expected that. And the two girls were watching cartoons, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a Saturday morning.
It was a Saturday morning. I was 10 years old, up at my uncle's and in Montdale, and I heard about it when we got home, and it was all over the news and the newspaper the next day. And I was keeping a diary back then. I wrote it in a diary, and I put it in the first film that I did. And I wrote it was terrible. 15 years old boy got killed. At that time, I was a big boy. I was only 10,
Yeah.
and I thought he was on the plane, being a little kid, but he wasn't. He was at the house there.
We tend to think that when somebody dies of something horrific,
Yeah. Hmm.
that they are. He was minding his own business. He was at
Yeah.
home helping out with the
The
remodeling
contractor.
stuff
Yeah.
that's going
Yeah.
on, and
Hmm.
you think you're safe at home,
Yeah.
but
I know.
even
Yeah.
back then.
Yep.
Can you imagine the difference in the news coverage if this had happened now?
Yes, I know. Yep.
The town would have been taken over by.
I know. And it's amazing those parts of the plane lay there all those years until we found them up on the mountain last year. And one of them now I gave to the fire department. They're going to hang on the wall because they have a picture there and a certificate. It'll look good right there. And when we get done here, I'll show you the other part that I still have in the trunk.
That's nice.
But yeah, if that's all you have there, I want to thank you very much. And I'm going to be putting this film together for the Coates family. And with that, you have a good afternoon.
You too.
Hi, I'm Bill Keller. I have a cottage at Lake Henry. My family has been here since the 1800s. And I remember when the plane crashed, I was not here because it was in the wintertime and I was at home. But I remember the house that was there before. We always called it Cusick's because they were the people that owned it before the Coateses. And when I was a kid, I went over there to have swimming lessons, and it was a terrible tragedy. I know that, and it was terrible that the one person was killed. But like I said, by the time we came up to see it, everything was gone, just a shell of the house or whatever, because it was the wintertime. And I don't think anybody much was on this side of the lake at that time. There are now permanent residents here, but at that time I don't think anybody had anything but a summer cottage here.
Well, I was at work at the Scranton Times when we heard about the plane crash, and we sent John Griskovic, the photographer, up, and I decided that I had better go too. So we had lived in this house here on Maplewood Road for a number of years, but I got lost on the way and finally got over there to where the plane had crashed. The house was on fire. The plane had hit the house, landed on the ice.
Wow.
And the ambulances and the fire companies were there. I gathered enough information to write a story for the paper. I don't know whether you have the copies of the...
I could get them, yeah.
Yeah.
I could get them.
But we came back to this house here, and I called in to the paper and gave them all the information that I had. But the house was really on fire. By the time I got there, it was burning real bad. I think that was what was the name of the family?
Coates.
No, but that wasn't their name. The people that owned the house originally were from Scranton. The people from Scranton used to come up here by train to Maplewood and walk over and have clam bakes at this big house. That wasn't Casey, it was, I forget the name of the family that lived there. But anyway, the people in Scranton were very much familiar with the house. It was a big house.
Okay.
And the plane hit it, set it on fire, and then landed in the lake. And as I say, I gathered the information that I could get, and John Griskovic, the photographer, went back to Scranton and processed his pictures. I think I took some pictures that day too, and I have them in my file someplace. But it was really a mess over there. But I know I had the names of the people at the time, and as I remember, one of the airplane crewmen landed in a tree. The people that were in the house some of the people died, didn't they,
Yes.
that were in the house?
Well, the young boy did. He was 15 years old.
Yeah.
Robert Coates.
How about the mother and father?
I'm not sure if the father was there. The mother was there, and the two girls were watching Saturday morning cartoons, they told me. And they heard the loud crash, and then the brother came running in and said, "We got hit by a plane. We'll be okay, Ma." And I guess he was on fire, and the mother had to grab him, and she got burned and threw him outside and rolled him in a rug, but I guess he died later on from the burns.
But as I remember it, the pilot, he dropped an engine. And you say that was in Archibald Borough.
That was in Archibald, yes.
Landed.
Yeah.
And he tried to turn, from up on the mountain, there's a radio beacon tower up on the mountain.
Yes.
And he may have been homing in on that.
Yeah.
But he tried to turn the plane and come over and land on the lake. But he didn't. He came down quicker than that and hit the house, set the house on fire, and then landed in the lake.
Yeah. Did he come over your house here, do you know?
I don't know. I wasn't here.
Okay.
I was at the office.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was a terrible accident, and I wrote about it in my diary back then. I was 10 years old. Okay, yeah, I guess that's all you had, because you weren't...
As I say, I got lost trying to find even though I lived right here within a mile of where the plane crash was, I got lost.
Do you know if any of the firemen that were around, are they still alive?
Well, I think Llewellyn Franklin, he's dead. He was one of the Maplewood Fire Company, and
Yes.
I presume the Jefferson Fire Company was there, and probably the Lake Ariel Fire Company.
Is that Jefferson one, the one that's down, or the
No,
Maplewood?
that's Maplewood,
okay.
right down the end of the road. Jefferson is out at Mount Cobb,
Okay.
and then the Lake Ariel Fire Company. Jimmy Wilson, the undertaker, was the chief of the Lake Ariel Fire Company, and I think they had their trucks there, but the house was really engulfed in flames by the time I got there.
Was it just one home or more than one home?
I think it was Cusick's house originally.
That's the name, yeah, Cusick, yeah.
Cusick, and as I remember the people at the Times telling me that the Scranton Club, or one of the clubs, would take the Erie train up to Maplewood. They had an excursion train to Maplewood, and they would walk from there over to the Cusick cottage and have a clam bake.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
But that's all I know about it.
Well, thank you.
I was there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Oh, my name is Ken Acker. I live in Jefferson Township. I've lived there all my life. And I was just talking concerning a plane crash that happened. I'm not even sure what year.
1966.
1956.
66.
66. I remember I was just a kid and I was working in my dad's basement on my model railroad. I was building a trestle. And my brother-in-law came in and said there's a plane crash. Let's want to take a ride over there. So I looked out the window and I saw the smoke coming up. So we went on over there and we didn't get really close because there was all cars there and everything was all jammed up. So we walked over and you could see where the plane had come down through the trees and it hit the house, and the house was still smoldering. And I knew one of the people that were on the emergency responders, and he said that the people that jumped out of the planes were hanging in the trees, and the trees had killed them on the way down. So that's why I recount of seeing the plane crash.
Thank you very much.
We're here at the Maplewood Fire and Rescue Department. I'm Chief Nick Karazi. Been in the office for, this is my third term. Maplewood Fire was established in 1961. There's been a few fire chiefs throughout the time. I took over from my father 3 years ago. We could show you some of our equipment. It's definitely updated since the time of the plane crash. This is our 2016 Suffin tanker we had custom built for us. And then to my right here is our rescue truck. It's a mini pumper. We bought this probably 5 years ago. This is a 1999.
How many members do you have now?
Active members, we have like 15.
Wagner Sala, and I was 10 years old when we heard the tragic news that a plane had crashed on this property. And at 10 years old, you could not have told me that today my husband and I would have bought this property, and we feel honored to be here, and we know the history and we know the sacrifices and the lives that were lost. So I try to keep it in memory of them as well as new memories for my family. That tree over there that's twisted was one of the burned trees from the fire, that one and the one next to it. And there was a larger one which rotted just last year and I had to take it down, but it also had black bark on it. This is the original water tower that the family used to collect water and then maybe to save it or bring it to the house. And the spring is back here in the woods. It's deep and it's really nice water.
So there was a tank on top of this
There was a tank
tower
on
at one
top
time,
of it filled with water.
and they pumped it from the spring up into the tank, and that gave them their water pressure for the house.
Something like that.
My name's Ron Berger. I was 16 years old when the plane crashed. I was leaving school. On my way home, I used to run back and forth about 8 miles. I was on the track team, so I was getting my exercise. I seen the one bail out of the plane with his parachute, and yeah, it got hung up in the tree, and I let them know when I got back here. I went home, and my dad was on the fire company squad, so he was already up here, and I left home and ran all the way back up here to help out during the fire. So good friends of mine went to school with the boy that got killed, and yeah, it was a great loss back then.
Yes, it was. So you saw that man actually parachute out, and you saw him hanging in the tree?
I see him just parachuting. I didn't see him hanging in the tree.
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess he cut himself down, and he was okay. He was walking on the tracks towards the accident site, what the
Yes.
paper said anyway.
Yep, yep.
But, oh, so what else do you
Yeah,
remember on
and
that?
The only other thing I remember is later on, they asked me, I used to be a diver, they asked me to go down under the ice and look for stuff, and I did not, so they sent the crew down.
Which way did the plane come in? Because I'm hearing different stories. Came in over the woods, that it come over the lake. Which way did it hit?
It came over from over here.
It came over from the woods here,
From
okay.
the woods area, yeah, and cut the trees off. You can still see the trees, they're dead, where it cut down through
So
here.
when it hit the house, it bounced out on the ice?
Well, it was just kind of the wing light that hit the house,
Okay.
the wing end of it, yeah, and then
There was several homes there. I think they all burned though from it.
Yep, they all burned. Yeah, later on we found the motor up on the Music Mountain. Yeah, and we had one of the fire company guy goes up there and protected it until they could get in there and rescue.
Yeah, they had
rescue
to
it
take
out.
that in.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you then for your time there.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Keith Williams. I've been a resident of Lake Henry all my life. My mother and father were Millie and Ted Williams, who inherited the cottage from William and Doretta Miller, who built the cottage in the 40s. I was approximately 8 years old at the time of the crash. What I remember is coming up the next day with my mother and father because we heard about it. We were living in Scranton at the time. We used to just reside here at the lake in the summers. And it happened in the winter, so we were living in Scranton, and I remember coming up with my mother and father the day after the crash happened, and we lived directly across from the site where the house burned down.
Yeah.
When we got to the lake, I still remember there was snow around, and I believe there was ice on the lake also. And I just remember looking across the lake and seeing a lot of smoldering and smoke rising up from the site. And the house, which was really the largest house at the on the lake at the time.
Yeah.
And they had a large main house and a smaller guest house down near the water and a big dock, it was all gone. And all that was there was, I remember some rubble, looked like stone rubble, and just wisps of smoke coming up from the property. I don't believe we were able to drive over that way. They probably had the lake road closed at the time.
That was, I think, someone said the former Cusick mansion?
Yes,
Cusick, yes.
yes, it was the Cusicks owned that
Yeah.
first, and then the Coateses.
Yeah, I think Ken said they bought it in 1963, so they only had it 3 years
Yeah.
before the plane hit.
Yeah.
But
And I remember thinking it was such a shame because at that time, back in those days, there were very few people that lived at the lake year-round. They were maybe the only ones that I knew of that lived here year-round. And how unfortunate that the plane crashed on a house where people were living. And I know some people were killed.
yeah, the boy was on the porch. He, young Bob quotes, he was 15 and he got covered with the fuel. And I guess he died that night at the hospital, which is now CMC Hospital, the Geisinger. But yeah, so you were up here. Yeah, I interviewed a few other people there, and there was some discrepancies which way the plane came in. But I just was told now by you and by the other guy came from the back, right, aiming towards the lake.
I was always told that it was a military plane.
Yes.
And that they had engine problems over Archibald Mountain.
Yep.
That they were trying to make an emergency landing on the lake. The stories I always heard was that between Archibald Mountain and here, I think 1 or 2 members parachuted from the plane and were killed. And I always heard that they were coming in from like Jones Swamp, so that would be the backside of the Coates property, trying to land onto the lake, but just didn't make it and ended up coming down right onto the house.
Yeah, that guy that I interviewed earlier said that the guy who parachuted out landed up by Lake Erie in a tree, but the co-pilot parachuted, he wasn't high enough, and he got torn to shreds by the trees, and then the pilot never got a chance to get out at all. They found him the next day in the basement, still strapped to the seat.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're the 9th person I interviewed so far, and that's most of them are saying it came from over the woods that way. So,
somewhere buried in our house, and I'm sure it's available in the library, we have a newspaper from that.
I do have all of those articles, yeah. And I sent them to the Coates family. They're also in the film.
There used to also be a few photographs of the actual response to it at the Maplewood Fire and Rescue Station. They had them on display. They were black and white photographs from that era.
Yes.
You know, with Cadillac-style ambulances and helping. I think there were 1 or 2 or 3 of those photographs. Now, I don't believe they're on display anymore down there, but maybe somebody down there would have.
Yeah, yeah. Well, very good. I thank you for your time there.
Sure. Well, it was a sad thing that happened.
Yeah.
I think it shocked everybody at the time. Like, this was sleepy little Lake Henry, and to have something that.
And then somebody get killed. You think you're going to be killed in a plane accident. You're on the plane, but he was down on the porch.
I also remember for the longest time the properties remained vacant, and there was just the foundation in there. And I remember you could go and look around the foundation, and cast into the side of the foundation was a safe, which was always kind of struck me, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Eventually they filled in the foundation and it just became kind of a hayfield. It started to become a little problem because people that weren't members of the Lake Association used to go over there and party and use access to the lake. And I can remember one year we had a bumper crop of acorns.
Yeah.
And my father and I collected up 3 or 4 big brown paper bags of acorns, and we went over and just broadcast them in the field in the hopes that it would reseed and some trees would come up. And then I guess probably in the 70s, a woman bought it. She was either Swiss or German. She was a heart surgeon, and she built the original portion of the A-frame that's over there.
Okay, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I remember she had a German Shepherd and a Saint Bernard that spoke German. Like they didn't understand English, but they understood German. And I wish I could remember her name.
Wow.
And when she did the balusters on the porch, because she was a heart surgeon, she had little heart shapes carved in those balusters.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Then I'm not sure of all different people that have owned it over the years. It now belongs to Karen Sala.
Yeah.
But it was a woman who was a surgeon, a heart surgeon, that bought the vacant property and built the what's now that we call it the A-frame over there.
Yeah. Thank you again for your time.
Hi, my name is Richard Kunkel, and we're speaking about the tragedy at Lake Henry in 1966. I was in my pre-teens when it happened, and we were residents of Scranton, and we heard about it, saw it on the news, and came up the next day. I remember it was very cold, and I think the lake was frozen over, and we just looked across from our side of the lake and saw this huge smoldering wreckage, and the property and the homes were destroyed.
Did you get a chance to go over near there, or was it all blocked off?
No, it was all cordoned off. We had to stay on the side of the lake.
But the two homes burned down over there, both of them?
Yes.
All destroyed. And two people, you said one body was in the tree. That was probably the co-pilot, right?
That's what I heard, that someone was
Yeah.
hanging in a tree in a parachute. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's true or not.
Another guy did live. He was hanging in a tree there. He was a civilian engineer, and he did live there. But the pilot, I think they said, according to the paper, they found his body still strapped to the seat in the basement.
Yeah, I haven't seen that article in many years. Over the years, I have seen copies of, the newspaper articles. And
Yeah. And you said that was one of the few homes that they were full-time up here, right? Back in those days?
yeah, if not on this part of the lake, maybe there were two homes where someone could
Yeah.
live there all year round.
But you still remember that as a young boy, though?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Sure, my pleasure.
My name is William Ovens. I was 8 years old when the plane crashed at Lake Henry. We were at the house when it happened, and everything just suddenly blew up across the lake from us, and it was all on fire. We didn't know what happened, of course, at the time, but within an hour we knew what happened.
Yeah. Did you go over to the scene?
No, we did not. We were too young.
Okay, yeah. I was 10 years old. I was living in Archibald, and I knew what happened. It was in the paper. It was all over the news, but I didn't go up either. But I do know people who did go up there. Anything else you remember about it?
Well, I remember there was fire companies from all over. The military was there for a little over a month, gathering up their information and getting the plane out of there. We went to school with the one person that was died in the crash.
That would be Robert Coates.
Right, yep, Bobby Coates.
Yeah, he was 15 at the time.
Yeah, he was my sister. Well, he was a little older than my sister, but him and her were good friends.
Oh, okay.
But it was, I know for quite a while, we couldn't go that way with the school bus because the military had the road shut completely down. Nobody was allowed back there.
Yeah. Now that fire department down at Maple, was that the first one on the scene?
Yes, they were.
They were,
Yes,
okay.
they were. Matter of fact, my friend over the hill here, Roger Bell, was first on scene.
Okay. I think there was other fire departments. I think somebody said Archibald was even up there. One of the ones in Archibald.
That is very possible. I know Lake Ariel, Hamlin, Madisonville, Jefferson, Ledgedale, all the locals that we still use today, Waymart.
They were all there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you very much. I just want to get as many people as I can to remember that crash there, and you have a good day.
Thank you very much, sir.
My name is Sue Hartland Hubert, and I was very young when this happened, but I could remember it. I could remember standing, the best sight that you could get. We were standing across the lake. They wouldn't let us closer, and all you could see is everything that ever was there. It was the most magnificent house on the lake, and all that was left was like the dog coop and the garage. The three houses that were there, I think there was like a maid's quarters and I don't know, another little house, and the major one. And I can remember everything was just burnt to the ground and smoking. Now my brother Joe was very close to the family, and I don't know if you'll be able to get any information from him because he's very sick, but he might be able to tell you more. He and Bobby were close, and from what he told me was that Bobby and some other worker in the house were moving gas stove or something in the part that is like a sun roof where there's all sun room where there was all glass and everything, and the one of the parts of the plane, I guess, that had the gas tank in it hit there, and that's what happened to him. I do remember, though, we were all devastated, and like you go in shock because you can't believe this young, beautiful guy that was here, young teenager, and because he was planning on coming to our house, like he gave our house as his address so that he can attend a good city school, and right after that, before that all took place, you know, the accident occurred. And it really was devastating. But my brother did go to see him when they brought him in the ER. Mm-hmm. And he said he couldn't really recognize him because his hair was all charred, like he was charred so bad. But he at that time, like he couldn't feel anything.
Really?
So he was talking to him and everything.
He was still alive then?
Yes, and he was talking to him. So I don't know what occurred after that, and I know that he stayed in touch with Mrs. Coates, and we did see Kenny a couple times afterwards, and I think he was down in, what was the name? Down in one of the countries in the southern hemisphere on the top. I can't remember the name.
West Indies?
No, it was... if you said the name, it's one of the...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't remember either. But I don't know where he went after that. I'm not sure he stayed there. But then I did anyway, lost track with most of them. And but I know my brother stayed in touch. And I know when Mrs. Coates died, she asked him to come be with her. And he did go to her. So, and I don't know where it was. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was in the States, where or whatever. But honestly, I was so young. That memory, though, is engraved in my head. And
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you think about it often. How come it just hit where people were?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It could hit anywhere else but
yes,
where people were.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was funny, too, because one time I didn't know where Bobby was buried. Mm-hmm. I'm sure my brother did, but one day we were riding around and we stopped in the mausoleum just because we were curious kids. And if I didn't walk right down and right into it, I was devastated. I couldn't believe it. But devastated but happy that I found him.
Yeah.
So, but... yeah, no, I can't really say much more about it.
Well, that's fine. I thank you very much. I was 10 years old at the time, and I wrote it in my diary. And like I told you before, I found 2 parts of the plane, me and some other guys, last year, or actually the summer before last. And one of them now is down inside the Maplewood Fire Department. It's in the
cool.
Back, in a wall. And the other one I still have here. I'm going to show you before I leave.
Yeah.
But I thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm a mess.
So you
we're
lived
cleaning.
up here when that happened? You were living up here?
No, we were living in Scranton.
Okay. Yeah.
But my mother and father, we were up here half the year because my parents owned this cottage right here.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's how we met Bobby and Kenny and all them.
Yeah.
See, the girls were younger, so I didn't get to know them well.
Yeah, Vicky was 4, and I think Bobby was 6.
Yeah. See, maybe I was. How old are you? Because maybe I was.
Well, I was 10 back then at the time.
Yeah, I can't
so
figure.
So was Karen Wagner-Solid.
Oh well, if Karen was that, I was about that age too. Maybe a little younger. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Yeah.
My name is Florent Barry. I live up here about 3 miles from the Maplewood Fire Hall here in the corner of Silkman's Road and Maplewood Road. I was one of the first ones back on the scene of the airplane crash when a C-119 crashed in the Lake Henry. At the time I was not a member, but I was still affiliated with the fire company. And we were coming home. I had my dad to the doctor, and we were coming home over on what is now Fernwood Road, and I seen this huge plume of black smoke go up in the air. It was a cold, windy day, and we turned around, and we thought it was probably a house blew up or something, and turned back, and just as the fire trucks were the ambulance was leaving, I was right behind them, and we went back to the scene, and I got back there, and it was nothing but just black smoke, broken trees, power lines over, and the fire was actually blowing right across the road. The fire, you could see the fire inside the black, but we had no idea what it was. We knew it was a house there, but we had no idea that there was an airplane. And neither one of my dad or I was dressed good. So I says to him, I said, we can't do nothing except get out of here before we're trapped back in here. So we turned around, and as we were coming out, there was people coming in, and there was vehicles coming into the scene, and we got out, and on the way home, we met a fella with his old gasoline truck, and we stopped him and told him, don't go back there, just in case. And then we found out on the radio at home that it had been a plane, and that there was people missing. So I went out, because the plane could have came very close to going over my house to make a big loop from over on Archibald Mountain. And so I went out and looked, because they said there was a person missing, and they thought he was maybe hanging in a tree. And we went out and we walked through the woods and that, but there was nothing, and Lace found him later on. But it was quite a thing to see as far as damage done. All the trees there, right up through there was a belt of ash trees. And when that plane came in, they cut the tops off all them ash trees that they just stood there like a pole. There wasn't a limb on them because they were tall. And that stuff just laid all over. It was pretty bad and pretty disastrous for the people that lived there.
Wow. So you never got really close to the crash, though?
Oh, I got within 500 feet of it.
Oh, okay.
Yes, within 500 feet. And then just before that, there's a spot in the road where we were able to turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were several buildings that burned, the house, and they had
The house and a place down along the lake. Yeah, burned.
How many days did it take to clean all that up?
I really don't know. I really don't know. The Air Force came in, and of course they took charge of everything then, you know.
Yeah.
But it was quite a mess. I mean, the wind was blowing very hard that day.
Yeah.
And the smoke and the fire was actually blowing right across the road. There was garages over there on the other side of the road. There was some garages. There was like 3-car garage, or I imagine it was at least a 3-car garage. That was all destroyed.
Wow. One of the people I talked to said he saw the passenger jump out with a parachute, and I guess he landed in a tree. He lived. Did you know about him? Did you know where he landed? Or?
No, it was someplace before he got to the fire. That's all I know.
Yeah.
And they found him. I think they found him from searching from in this area.
Yeah.
He was very close by.
He did live, but
Yeah.
young Bob Coates died, and the pilot and co-pilot died too.
Yes.
I guess the co-pilot dove out, but he didn't have the altitude, they said, and the parachute didn't open in time, and he got slammed into the trees.
Yeah, that's my understanding too. Yeah.
How old? Do you know how old you were roughly back then?
1966.
66, yeah.
I'd have been 22.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was 10 and a half, and I did write it in my diary. And yeah. Anything else about it you remember that stood out? Or?
No, just that there was quite a bit of excitement over it, you know, because it was an Air Force plane and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
And the boys got some recognition here that was on the scene. They got some numerous things from the Civil Air Patrol, and because of the work they done, they put a lot of effort into helping.
Anybody get hurt fighting it?
Nobody got hurt here that I know of.
Okay.
No.
And most of the people that fought are now passed on, right?
Just about everyone. I can't think of, other than Roger Bell.
Yeah.
He was a young man then, and
like
I told you, he was the ones that supposedly took the boy to the hospital in his car. But I can't verify that, but I've been told that.
Yeah. he died that night in the hospital.
Yeah. So.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much there for your information there. And,
my pleasure.
We're up here at Vicki Dodlin's house, and we're going to ask her some questions. You were in the house that day, 1966, January 8th, when the plane hit?
Yes, I was. I was 4 years old at the time, and I can remember I was watching cartoons on TV with my sister, and I must have been very wrapped up in the cartoons because I don't remember hearing any plane. But the first thing that I remember is feeling heat coming from behind me, and I turned around to see what the heat was, and I saw where my sister was sitting over there, and I saw fire behind her. And the next thing I knew, somebody was grabbing me and grabbing my sister and taking us out of the house. And I believe it was my brother Ken, and our housekeeper, Mrs. Apple, took us out of the house that day. And that's the only thing I can really remember from that day itself.
How? Okay.
And so it's hard to remember a lot.
Yeah. So you went to Mrs. Apple's house there. Did you see the house on fire after you went out of it, or?
I don't remember really seeing the house on fire. The next thing that I remember after being pulled and taken out was later that evening, that night, being at Mrs. Apple's house and being very confused and kind of scared, and very happy that I had my sister with me because my mom wasn't around, my dad wasn't around. They were, of course, very busy with what they had going on. But I just remember being confused and happy my sister was there with me. And then I don't really remember much about anything after that.
Yeah, being 4 years old. Your dad, you said, was at work, so he came home to find the plane in your house?
He had gone into work that morning, so he wasn't there when it happened. And I really don't know how it must have been, coming home and finding out what had happened. Must have been quite a shock.
Yeah, I guess it was. After that point, then you moved out of that area?
We lived in Scranton for a short period of time, maybe up to a year. I'm not 100% sure. Then we moved to Philadelphia after that, and then we wound up moving down to the Dutch West Indies.
Okay. Now you had a contractor there too, right? He was working on the house?
Yes, Mr. Memlo was working on some renovations in the kitchen, and he had asked my brother Bob to help him bring an oven around so that they could try it in the place where it was going to go.
Mm-hmm. And that's when the plane hit?
Yeah, that's when the plane hit.
Did they see the plane for quite a while, or just a few seconds before it hit, or you wouldn't know?
I really don't know. I don't know whether they saw it, heard it. I'm sure they must have heard it.
Yeah. And you said that contractor also died later on of his burns?
That's what I remember hearing my mother tell us, that he had died maybe a few days later, maybe a little while later afterwards from the injuries from that.
Do you have many memories of your brother Bob?
I don't have a lot of memories, but the one memory that I do have, which is very vivid, is I had to go for a nap one day, and I didn't want to go for a nap, and I guess I was making a fuss about having to go for a nap. And Bob was there, and he said, well, if you'd like, you can take your nap in my room. Now, he had this nice set of bunk beds in his room, which I guess I thought was really amazing. And so that made me really happy to be able to, sleep in his bunk bed, for my nap. And I think, that's kind of characteristic of how he was. He was just very kind. And a nice boy.
Yeah, it was a terrible accident. Excuse me, I'll never forget that. And I wrote that in my diary, although you guys definitely have memories of that. But it's in my diary. I was 10 years old at the time, and up at my uncle's house, and everybody heard about it. It was all over the news. I never thought I'd meet the family that was involved in it, but here I am today. I want to thank you very much.
Hi, Dale. Thank you so much for being interested in our family and the township and Lake Henry, for all the devoted work you've done all these years to keep this story alive. And thank you also for pursuing Betty Stoner, who was also a classmate of Bob's, my brother's, and she also kept his memory alive by writing about the story and for arranging people to come around and keep the story alive. So I'm very grateful to you both, and I owe you a debt of gratitude for your coverage of talking about my brother Robert Craig Coates. Okay, so I was in the house on on Saturday, January 8th, 1966. It was a Saturday morning. My sister and I, who was 2 years younger than I think she was 4 at the time. We were sitting in the what we called the TV room, which was right off of here, sort of a TV room. And my back was to like this. I was sitting like this. And the plane fell right where you are, a little bit beyond you, there. And the wings broke off. And it actually, whether it was the plane or trees, they blocked the street up above. So no one could get through there from that side of Silkman's Road to this side. So I was watching cartoons that morning, and so was Vicky, and we all of a sudden the ground shook, and there was a big loud noise. Then there was a big white warm light. Now remember, this was in January, and there was a heavy snow on the ground, and all of a sudden this warm white light came over us, and as it turned out, the fire singed all my hair off that morning. We were that close to the fire, and I thought, of course you don't know what had happened, I thought it was Rocky and Bullwinkle falling down the mountain in a snowball, if you remember those cartoons. That's what came to my mind. And so from there I know that my brother Ken, who survived the crash, he took Vicky and me out of the house, and so that's what happened. So after we knew what had happened, Bob had come in from being on the front porch where he was doused with air fuel and he was on fire. My mother tried to pat the flames off of him, which she could not. So she sustained 3rd-degree burns on her right hand, which bothered her for her whole life. And Bob was burned, over 90% of his body, 3rd-degree burns. And so, yeah, he didn't last very long. It was terrible.
Saturday morning, cozy and warm, on a rug in the parlor, sentry from home, Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner 2, Wilma and Fred, no sense of dread, world of potential, loving mom and dad, smart, strong brothers, everything to be had. Sisters alert to unworldly sounds, roaring and blasting, peacefulness drowned. Bobby had been soaked by the crashing plane's fuel, went running to warn his family. Great young man, son and brother, your light shines bright, you are a champion. We're gonna rock you in heaven and hold you to our hearts. We're gonna rock you in heaven. We should never have been apart. Bobby runs with flames. He says all will be okay. He runs with assuredness on that fateful day. Dear mother, with such swiftness, rolls him up in wool and cries to our Savior, please, Jesus, please. I'm rocking you in heaven. I don't care how big you are. I'm rocking you in heaven and holding you to my heart.